from what I understand what you're saying, so the affidavit of execution, that's like an optional part, but it's strongly recommended. Is that right?
Yeah, not having an affidavit wouldn't automatically make the POA unenforceable. Right? It's still a power of attorney, but it could lead to problems if anyone's questioning the validity of the POA or the enforceability or anything like that.
Do you, once this is done, do you have to register it with the court, this document?
It doesn't have to be registered. There are some situations where for the sale of real estate that you do have to complete some registration processes with the court before you can sell certain property under a POA for property.
So Sam, is it possible to do a power of attorney document without the involvement of a lawyer? I know a lot of people like to do DIY sort of. So yeah, is that possible?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with a power of attorney, it's a fairly consistent legal document. So the POA that I use from the software subscription I have versus the POA template that's available from the Ontario government versus POA templates that you can find elsewhere, it's not going to be a whole lot of variation. They're very consistent documents. So especially if you have, a more simple or straightforward arrangement, it's not going to be overly onerous to plug that into the standard template. I do think consulting with somebody is good for, the estate plan generally, right? And understanding what are the best options for my specific situation. So for example, if you have 3 children, each, maybe you have 3 adult children, each in a different living and social situation, there may be incentives to have one as the POA or have another as the alternative POA or something like that. So having an advisor, somebody to talk through those considerations with, can be really helpful. And as we get into the power of attorney for health, for personal care, there are definitely more considerations that you may want to have somebody to bounce those ideas off. However, this is definitely one of those things where I would recommend, if you're not in a position to get a lawyer, 99 times out of 100, it'll still be better to do something yourself than not have anything, right? Than not have any documents. So having a power of attorney named is very, very helpful if there's an emergency or a situation where you can't manage your own affairs.
Right.
I'm sure some lawyers would say like, oh, don't do it yourself because mistakes can be made and whatever else. But, not having a POA can lead to problems too, right? So it's sort of, at a certain point, it's like pick your poison. And to me, if you're in a situation where you really can't afford a lawyer, but you can get a template or take the one from the government site, I think it's better than nothing. Again, that's just my opinion, but I would always recommend to have something in place.
Sam, last question before we move on to the property for personal care. Power of attorney, these documents, are these province specific?
Yeah, they are. So they're governed by, in this case, the Substitute Decisions Act, right, which is an Ontario statute. So they would be based on the provincial laws. That being said, I'm sure there isn't a lot of different, right? Like they're effectively serving the same function province to province. The governing acts province to province are very similar. So, the format you're seeing on the screen now is probably going to be fairly consistent, right, between the different provinces.